Well, we're here with the unmistakable figure of Lawrence Dallaglio, suffering a bit with man flu.
Yeah, don't tell anyone, that's not good.
That's all right. Well, let me tell everybody watching this.
Head cold.
Yeah, I know. Actually, it's probably a lot worse, Lawrence, but you being you, you're just manning up, aren't you? Fair enough. We are in the offices of the 2015 Rugby World Cup at Twickenham. Business is officially open, and you're here as an ambassador. You know a bit about the World Cup, don't you? You played in a few.
I lost a couple, yeah, 1-1. So no, it's great that we're here. New Zealand is now a distant memory, obviously not for the people of New Zealand, but certainly for the people of England. And we're now building towards the next World Cup, which is going to be here in this great country. And this promises to be the biggest and best World Cup ever. That's certainly the objective of the organising committee. In terms of tickets, we've got just under 3 million tickets to sell, which is a fairly ambitious target. But we'd love to be able to sell every single seat in every single stadium, and that's got to be our ambition. It's going to be a Rugby World Cup played all over the country.
Tell us whereabouts?
Well, the likes of St James's Park at Newcastle, perhaps taking rugby away from the traditional heartbeds of like the Welford Roads and Northamptons, and going into football territory. We're playing at Ellen Road, St James's Park, Old Trafford, the Theatre of Dreams, which was a wonderful venue, across some of the more traditional rugby playing stadiums, also into Wembley, of course, Twickenham, I believe the Millennium Stadium.
You said main football citadel, so presumably that's not Stamford Bridge then?
I know Stamford Bridge is not on the sheet, primarily because Chelsea didn't want it to be, clearly, but no, it's going to be played all over the country.
I mean, I guess is Lawrence, when you won the Rugby World Cup in 2003, half the nation stopped and watched rugby. So the Rugby World Cup, especially staged in this country, will get a lot of interest from people who don't necessarily always watch rugby. Yeah,
yeah, it will do, and let's be honest. England itself is becoming synonymous with hosting some of the biggest sporting global events in the world.
Especially at the moment.
We are in the year of the Olympics. We have the Rugby League World Cup in 2013. We have the Commonwealth Games in 2014. We have the World Championships in athletics. So by the time we get to 2015, we're going to be very well experienced in that. There's over 9 million people engaged in rugby in this country, either playing, coaching, or as a fan. So I think what the Rugby World Cup 2015 is about, between now and then, is about engaging the nation, about getting the nation behind not just the England team, which is clearly very important, but also behind rugby itself. And I know from my own experiences of coming back here with the Rugby World Cup in '03, what a huge uplift there was in interest in both on the field in terms of people playing the game, but also off the field as well. And I think one of the most important things about this Rugby World Cup is about obviously making it the biggest and best ever, but also about legacy. And what do we mean by legacy? Well, we mean getting more people playing the game, getting more people engaged in the game, getting more people interested.
Now, tell us about the lessons from the staging of the World Cup in New Zealand. Different country, different mentality, smaller country. I mean, you can't replicate that World Cup. This will be your own World Cup, won't it? But what perhaps are the positives and the lessons learned from the New Zealand World Cup?
Well, I think one must always take the lessons from every World Cup, and one would like to think that each World Cup will be better and better and better as we go along. But New Zealand is not England, and vice versa. So New Zealand is a rugby mad country, very intimate. I think it's important that the objective for us is to sell all the tickets, obviously, make sure. And if you look at New Zealand, we had 1.4 million tickets in total. This Rugby World Cup will have double that amount of tickets, which is no mean feat. So I think the most important thing is to understand who are the people that are going to come and fill those stadiums, and it's about putting the right teams in the right places, about making sure that we create the communities around the towns and the stadiums where those games are going to take place. It's about getting the ticket pricing at the right level, so that we're not pricing too many people out of the market. It's about getting people engaged, and I suppose that starts now, from now all the way through.
And I guess as well, it's important for the country to embrace not just England, but the World Cup. So therefore, I don't know, you've got Canada versus Japan being staged in say, Leeds, for example. You want the community to embrace those teams, don't you?
Yeah, and I think that's part of the job of the organising committee, of the ambassadors, the likes of myself, is to really drive that message home. Everyone will get a ticket and everyone wants to watch the England team, but what about Georgia, Romania? What about Canada, Japan? What about some of these other games?
Who are getting better and better, aren't they?
They are, and I think the last Rugby World Cup, some of the lessons that we perhaps learned is that the likes of Tonga beating France and France then going on to play New Zealand in the final, almost winning. Anything anything is possible in rugby now, and things are really, really changing. So I think it's going to be absolutely vital to create that atmosphere, that community around the so-called Tier 2 nations.
They mentioned the England team very briefly, Lawrence. I mean, it starts now, doesn't it? To be successful in 2015, and it would help if England had a good World Cup, obviously, for all sorts of reasons. It starts now, doesn't it? Very early days, interim management. A lot of knives have been drawn over the last few months, very messy, as you know. What are your initial feelings about the future, or at least the near future?
Well, we're about to find out. I think that with every challenge comes opportunity, and clearly the last 12 months England have had their moments. Let's not forget they are Six Nations champions, although everyone likes to forget that. They are Six Nations champions. Did I say that? They are Six Nations champions. And I think if I was an England player, I'd be quietly reminding everyone of that. We're Six Nations champions, we've got a title to defend. It's as if we don't exist at the moment, and it's between Wales and Ireland and France and all these other teams. So I think there should be a bit of fire in the belly of every England player. Fire in the belly of those players who have got a point to prove, who know that they let themselves and their country down in the Rugby World Cup, honestly, on and off the field. And fire in the belly of those who are perhaps starting out for the very first time. An opportunity, a real challenge. It's a new coaching system, new ideas. Who knows how long Stuart Lancaster and his team will be in charge. But certainly they've got to hit the ground running.
First signs good? Early signs good?
Early signs are that it's going to be picking a fairly young... I mean, what we do know is that there's going to be some new faces, and when there's new faces, there's always smiles and it's,
And Lawrence, I mean, I know talent doesn't mean experience, but we do have a lot of talent at least.
Yeah, we do have a lot of talent. We've shown in the Under-20 World Cup recently that the production line is coming through, and we've got to find some stars, and we've got to find some pretty quickly. We've got to find the real stars of the future, the next, Jason Leonard's, Johnny Wilkinson's, Martin Johnson's. They don't start with 100 caps, they start on 0, and you build and you build and you build. And these guys have got to learn pretty quickly. What I will say is it will not be easy. This is going to be one of the most compelling Six Nations championships ever, I think. England start away in Scotland.
Nice easy one to start with.
Forget the rugby, we've got a bit of history to think about. Then obviously, Wales and Ireland probably, Wales certainly played some of their best rugby in the World Cup, albeit not necessarily getting as far as they would have liked. Ireland are always a threat with some of their senior players, and France, of course, made the final. So it's going to be tough, very, very tough. But I think that England go into this competition perhaps under the radar, or they're never under the radar, but certainly with less expectations than some of the others. And who knows, hopefully with a bit of new ideas and new impetus, they might cause a few surprises.
Less expectation, but a great deal of motivation, perhaps, if it's possible, even more than usual.
Yeah, absolutely. And we all know that off the field and on the field, we're not in a great place at the moment. We've let ourselves down. The only way of putting that right is by conducting themselves in the way that an England squad should off the field. And if you get that bit right, then you can start to affect what happens on the field as well.
Well, Lawrence, best of luck in your latest role of many. By the way, very briefly, how's the cycling going? You're, of course, on the Dallaglio Flintoff great cycle ride. Where are we going this year?
We are going in Olympic year. We're going from Mount Olympia in Athens on St George's Day, of course. To finish in London at the Olympic Stadium, Olympic Village, on the 18th of May, day before the Heineken Cup final. So it's going to be very exciting. Myself, Freddie, Lee Dixon, about 15 core riders, getting ourselves in training. We've got about 300 cyclists lined up. I believe, Ian, you've committed, I remember, a little while ago to doing a little bit of cycling yourself.
We'll edit this bit.
So I look forward to seeing you on the training rides in Richmond shortly.
I look forward to it. And have you promised them that it's not going to snow? Because it snowed in Italy, for goodness sake, last year.
It did snow last time round. No, we've made it a little bit later this time. It's April, May this year. So hopefully we're going to try and raise £2.012 million for cancer research, for a prostate cancer project, and for Great Ormond Street Hospital. We've got the backing of Virgin Media, the mighty Richard Branson. We've got the backing of Halfords, Nintendo,
and the backing of Sportsvibe.
And the backing of Sportsvibe. Thank you very much.
Website?
Website is www.dallaglioflintoff2012.com. Nice and easy for you to remember. Please donate generously.